As always. It's got to make up its mind, you know?
Hey, there it is. All right.
Did we do it?
Sweet. We are live.
We did it.
We did it. Hooray!
Finally.
We're here.
Jeff, couldn't have said it better myself. Excited to be here. Getting cozy.
Yeah, please lean back and get cozy. It's a little creepy when you lean forward. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, this is an optimal setup. I think John's had it right the whole time.
Yeah. Get yourself an easy chair and just kick back, my friend. People say rocking the shades, love them. Those are some fancy glasses. I told Rett right before the show, I really hate it when I buy a prop or some piece of apparel to buy it ironically to like rock for an ad or, as a joke for one time. Like, hey, these glasses look like funky, man. Like, let's try them on. And now I have to decide if I'm going to wear them ironically or I'm just going to wear them because they look so goddamn good.
They look great. I mean, get a little bit of a welcome to the internet.
Oh, totally. These are like the spitting image of Bose glasses from Welcome to the Internet. Have a look around. Yeah. No. So now I have to decide if I'm actually going to wear them because I kind of like them.
You're wearing them with a few hundred of your closest friends, and
so I got two pair. I got the black ones too. So
what color were the other ones?
The other ones are silver.
Oh, the frames.
Yeah, the frames. Yeah.
Well, I was telling you right before we started. The funny thing is, I just got some ones that look like that are red lenses. So nice. We'll see how long they take to get delivered. Yeah,
what's funny is the silver ones are just your regular smoked lens, and then this one is more of the like your dad in the 1980s lens. It's the Auburn lens. So
I dig it.
Not that I need sunglasses because I've got the active
right, yeah,
glasses, but yeah. So
nothing wrong with that.
Jeff, are you doing a Leon the Professional cosplay? That could actually... I could totally rock that. Thank you for my costume next year if I don't get my Mando costume built by then. Anyway, we're about 2 minutes into it, so welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 263, your once-weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
I'm Rett.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us on this Wednesday night or in podcast form over on Anchor.fm or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, usually some Star Trek. All super chats are read in the air so long as they will not permanently demonetize the channel, and I feel like it. We do drink alcohol on the show, and if you're drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the chat, and we'll give some early show shoutouts as we go along. Last but not least, if you'd like to take part in the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. As a bonus, you'll get access to my exclusive Discord server, where hopefully I won't drown on my own spit while trying to get through an intro. It's like, it's coming. Yeah.
It's a big ask.
Yeah, it is a big ask. Yeah. So how did Jeff die? Funny story. Jamie Heineman, is that you? I always felt like I was more of an Adam Savage, but, those glasses are definitely straight out of Jamie's
same with the hat,
warehouse.
man.
Now that I think about it, my attire is definitely way more slanted towards Jamie.
Oh yeah.
Like dude, I hadn't even thought about, the flat cap with these glasses on.
Yeah. I was
Jamie
thinking
wants big boom.
I was thinking a little bit more.
Sorry,
like
is this better? Get the walrus going on.
The glasses got like a Matt Murdock thing going on, like Daredevil, but
yeah,
not with the hat exactly, but I don't know. He's a New York boy.
Yeah,
flat caps are kind of a East Coast thing.
Yeah,
I've
no,
seen blinders.
honestly, the flat cap is another thing that I bought ironically, and I went, you know what? I've always wanted to have a hat that was just slightly different.
Right.
Because I've always been a hat person. I've got dozens upon dozens of ball caps and all kinds of different hats. I've got a couple different hats for like winter weather if I'm working outside. I've actually got like a full, waterproof, you'd call it a cowboy hat, but it's a specific type of like rain hat and whatnot. But I've always been a hat person, but it's like, okay, which hat do I want to like make me, like signature, like that kind of thing? What's on brand for Jeff? And I bought the flat cap ironically to send to someone as a joke. And it came in the mail, and I went ahead like, oh, look at me, I look good.
Well, that's what happened to me with my dumb like red ball cap that everybody's probably seen at this point.
Yeah.
Like I got that thing when I was like 15 years old, and my buddy's dad worked at Nike, and he came home and he's like, look at these boxes of hats. Aren't they all so dumb? These were the rejects. And I pulled that red one out that has like the Argyle pattern on it, and I was like, look at this. This is the dumbest one in here. And I put it on. I was like, well, it fits. And then it just like never left my wardrobe.
I have a Florida State Seminole hat. That's the exact same thing. Someone was like, yeah, I don't need this anymore. Do you want it? And it was one of the nicer Nike with the elastic band on the back of it. Like the any size fits all form to your head. And I'm like, Florida State? Who the heck? I guess I'm a Seminole fan now. Okay. So.
Love it.
Yeah. That's how my fashion goes, is buy something you think will look stupid, and you're like, apparently that's me.
I've just leaned into it. I'm wearing a sweater with like cows and stuff on it right now. You guys can't quite see it. But
what is it, under 80 in your house? Need a sweater tonight?
I'm in the basement.
So am I.
Little bit. Yeah, your basement's a lot warmer with your computers and your servers and your...
It's true.
My basement gets cold enough. I have a fireplace right behind me. So...
Yep. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this show on the road. Starting with, I guess, Rett, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, I did start the party earlier over at Ratchet Brewing, and
there you go.
You can't let your annual existential crisis pass you by without going and getting some birthday beers at your favorite brewery.
You didn't tell me it was your birthday today.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that cute how I did that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slide it in there.
I've got that saggy energy. That's something we do. We can't ever let people forget about it, but we'll hold it against you when you forget.
Right,
so,
right.
But I'm going to start with the Mac and Jack's African Amber Ale. This is one of my favorite beers. It is so good, so malty, but so drinkable. And it's hard to get down here in Oregon. This is brewed up in Redmond, Washington. I think it's about, it's 5.8%. And this stuff's so good if you can ever get it on tap. And I managed to find a 6-pack of it over at TJ's. So,
yeah. Well, I am putting you in my phone right now because I have your number, so might as well add the birthday to it. Here we go. Details. I'm going to edit that contact. And hey, he's got a birthday. I'm not going to shame you with the year. I'll just mark it down that you were born like in 2024.
It's all right. Everybody knows I'm the youngest one over in Craft Computing headquarters. So
that's exactly right. Yeah, even Baby X is actually older than you. It's kind of the weird dynamic we have going on.
Yeah, it makes things awkward around the office.
Yep.
What are you going to do?
All right, so I've got a couple of more playful beverages tonight. And I'm not sure which one I want to go with first. So I've got an IPA. I've got a Block 15 IPA from down in Corvallis, Oregon. Which they're normally known for their big, dank bomb IPAs, like bong water style IPAs. This one I don't think is going to be that. So this is the Block 15 Animal Cookies IPA. Brewed for the hop-loving animal inside you, this can is packed with sticky, pungent hops. Unleash a swirling circus of pineapple, tangerine, mako, pine, and dank herb hop character, balanced with pale malt and malted oats for a soft mouthfeel and gentle finish. So that's Animal Cookie IPA. I've also got an Angry Orchard. Yes, I know. Calm down, not craft. I don't care.
It's good.
I had to get this one. So I've got a cider on the show tonight. This is the old-fashioned cocktail-inspired Angry Orchard. So with notes of cherry, orange peel, and vanilla. So there we go. I think I'm going to start with the cider because I bet that's going to be a little bit better cold than warm. And then we'll go with the IPA later. So Angry Orchard, old-fashioned cocktail-style hard cider.
Yum.
Do you need to play the drums to drink the Animal IPA? It's the Animal Cookie IPA, not Animal! But, yeah. Yeah, no, a little drum backing wouldn't be a bad thing, I don't think.
If you guys want, I can pan my camera just over here a little ways. And
yeah.
We got the whole 9 yards set up. 2 drum sets are set up over here.
Cosworth says, Craft Computing, you need to rock a fedora while reviewing the shortcomings of Fedora. The shortcomings of the Fedora or of Fedora OS? I'm assuming you mean the OS, but, I mean, both are applicable. Note to self as well, Craft Computing needs a tactical hat with a patch that says cloud computing just means someone else's hardware. I've never been a fan of the tactical gear. CFQ says he wears his flat cap backwards. I've done that a couple of times. I don't think I've done it on camera, but I have done that a couple of times. The main reason I'm a hat person is to keep water off my glasses. To keep, number one, sun off my eyes for if I have a migraine that day. And number two, it rains a lot here. And so keeping raindrops off my glasses. That's why I adopted the hat in the first place. And again, if I'm going to wear a hat all the time, might as well be fashionable.
Daddy's got that drip.
Yeah, got that drip going on. All right, let's see. We do have a couple of things in chat going on right now. Hops and Brews wants to remind everyone that the Secret Santa opening for Craft Computing Western Hemisphere is going on tonight. I guess Western Hemisphere, yes. Yeah, if you want to view that, you are more than welcome to join as long as there's room. I think there's going to be room. Yeah, we did a Secret Santa exchange on the Discord server, and tonight is the North American, Western Hemisphere, whatever you want to call it, beer opening. And then on Saturday, we are doing an EU, Eastern Hemisphere, so EU and Australia beer opening. Saturday, noon Pacific, whatever time over there. So, yeah, join us for some fun. Novella Hub opened a brewing project, Smoofie, Smoofee. Strawberry, tangerine, banana, and vanilla fruited sour. 6.5%, 4.22 on Untapped. We are hitting way up there. Remix reviews. Jeff, any holiday beers you're currently enjoying? I love winter ales. Almost as much as I love fresh hop season and stout season. But there's this nice little in between where it's not quite winter yet. I'm not quite ready for like nothing but 12% stouts. But we're well past fresh hop season, and it's that winter ale goodness stuff. I love a lot of the West Coast classics. So you've got Elysian's Winter Ale. Which one is that? Gosh, I had it just the other day.
Bifrost.
Yes, Bifrost. The Bifrost Winter Ale.
You have like Deschutes Jubilale.
Yeah, there's Jubilale. There's Ninkasi Slayer is another phenomenal one. There's 10 Barrel Pray for Snow. Is a fantastic winter ale, and actually they have a new one called Pray for Pow, which is a winter stout, but a lighter bodied stout. It's like 6.5%, but I thought it was good. Probably not quite as good as the Pray for Snow, but it's definitely up there. I'm a sucker for all of those. Let's see. Fort George does an amazing winter IPA called the Magnanimous IPA. And it's literally like biting into a pine tree. So if you're into that style of hop, it's fantastic. You open it and it smells like Christmas.
Silver Falls has like a really good like hazelnut winter ale, and it's almost like a brown. I think it's like really nice. It's just very aromatic and warm and spicy. It's good.
Nice. Let's see. So yeah, take your pick. Remix. Those are all fantastic and limited edition. They only sell them for about 6 to 8 weeks out of every year. So get them while you can. Active Life Jason, I almost missed you. Jason's drinking a Widmer Brothers Juicy Sunrise. I have not had that one from Widmer. I might need to go pick that up. 6.8%. Active Life is drinking an old fashioned with Wild Turkey 101, spiced cherry bitters, and bourbon Bada Bing cherries. I love Bing cherries, especially bourbon barrel aged, or actually, I have been on a rum barrel aged cherry kick as of late. I've been doing a lot of those in old fashions. Yeah, those are always fantastic. Let's see. And let's see, we got at least one more. Williams got in with a can of Red Hook Ale, Storm Surge Hazy IPA, 6.8%. Excellent.
Well done, everybody. Getting into the holiday season with a couple of your favorite brewskis.
And finally, we got a couple of super chats. Parker Stone's over $5 says, "Keep on crafting." If only I could share with you my current crafting project. I was actually working on it out in the garage today. We can't say anything about it because it's a present for someone. But Rett got to preview it, and holy crap, I'm really proud of this thing.
It's pretty dope, and I was a little jealous. I mean, I was like, it's my birthday, and this guy's working on this cool present for somebody else. Like, come on, dude.
No, so like kidding. You to hold a grudge.
Yeah, that's the Sagittarius in me, Jeff. That's the fire sign coming out. Can't help it, you know. It's in my stars.
I feel like Sagi's more of an excuse for you to be a dick.
Well, to non-astrology people, that's true. But to me, I'm a big believer of astrology, as you can tell. I buy into it exactly once every 365 days.
Yep.
And
yep.
No, but it was a very cool present. It was like, you're kind of talking about it, and I thought it would be a cool idea. I could easily visualize it, but then it was another thing to sort of see it come together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where I went, this is going to take way too much time. And then the day that I was talking about, like I had like the idea in my head, that day I couldn't sleep. And so I went to bed at like 9 o'clock and I still couldn't sleep. So I woke up at like midnight and I just came down to my office and I drafted the entire thing because I knew the entire thing was going to take me like 4 hours to actually like design and everything else.
Yeah.
Knocked it out. Rhett walked in the next morning and I said, guess what I did last night?
Yep.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Kurt has $2. Any thoughts on Arc QSV? So that's quick sync video support for Plex or Jellyfin. If you virtualize either of those, you need to make sure of a couple of different things, that you are passing through your CPU as a host CPU through the hypervisor and not randomly assigning it or just giving it a Proxmox CPU or generic CPU for virtualization. It has to see that it has access to the actual physical host hardware. And there's a couple of different flags that you also need to set in your VM in order to get QuickSync to work on Plex. If you're running it on bare media or bare metal, then yeah, QuickSync works just fine in either Jellyfin or Plex. With Plex, you do need the Plex Pass for hardware encoding, so keep that in mind. You need to be either an active subscriber or have a lifetime membership. Also, another $2 from Kurt. I'm thinking about an A380 to accelerate a server. I have not tested any of the encoding on the new Intel cards. I know the A380 is very high on the list for a number of different people for encoding tasks, mainly because of the AV1, which I don't think Jellyfin or Plex have AV1 support yet, and I almost guarantee that your client devices outside of PCs are going to have AV1 decode yet. But that is pretty much the next main codec that looks like it's going to receive mainstream support. YouTube is even leaning that way for even on video uploads supporting AV1 for them to be able to break down to their stream bitrate that they want to hit. At the moment, H.264 is pretty much still the standard for YouTube. They haven't even moved on fully to X.265 yet. So, but I'm sure as soon as Plex or Jellyfin get AV1 support, it'll be all over the home lab and self-hosted forums. So keep an eye out. Thiago sends over 10 R dollars. I'm not sure what R is, but I'm celebrating my ITIL V4 certification with you. Well, thank you. Congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah, that's super cool. I have a number of certs. All of my certs are very much outdated. I think my most recent certification... Most of my certifications are around like Windows Server 2008 R2. So once I got those, I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Classic Jeff. I wasn't even alive yet.
YouTube does VP9 for anything over 1080. Yes, they do accept VP9 for anything over 1080. The problem is, have you tried encoding in VP9 and then storing those video files? Yes, they're excellent video files, but the compression isn't great. And then I'll take one more question. Janos wants to know XCP-NG versus Proxmox. Thoughts? Oh, that's a me versus Tom Lawrence fight. I love Proxmox. He loves XCP-NG. They're both phenomenal tools. I like more of the KVM architecture than I do the Zen architecture, and that's really all it comes down to, is kind of what your back-end virtualization software stack is. KVM has just always made more sense to me, and to me has been easier to navigate coming from a fully fledged Linux background. Whereas if you come at it from virtualization and then into it, if you're coming from more of like a VMware background or even Zen Orchestra, yeah, absolutely, XCP-NG is going to make a little bit more sense to you. So I think it's 6 one, half a dozen another. I have no problem installing either as a base for very, very large deployments. R is Brazilian Real. So yeah, awesome. Thank you. Cheers down in Brazil. Cool. Craft Computing, are you going to be doing a giveaway when you hit 500,000 subs? I really don't do giveaways here on this channel. It's not anything personal against you guys. I think you guys are all awesome. It's just when you do giveaways on YouTube, I honestly do think it kills any organic growth and natural traction you may have. And so it's just something I've always shied away from. That, and I just don't have the stomach for dealing with the constant, hey, can I have one of these? Can I get one of those? Like, I know you just gave away like a $2,000 computer to someone, but you know, I'm a poor college kid, and boy, I could sure you like.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a sob story. Everyone's got everything else, and it's nothing against anyone else. It's just I don't want to deal with that BS.
Right.
So,
And like, and I'm sure that this doesn't apply to anybody that's here, but you know, one of the things that you see or hear quite often from other YouTubers or content creators is like they do giveaways and they have to keep doing giveaways.
They have to keep doing giveaways to keep their audience, and it kills a lot of their audience retention because people will only watch a video if it has a giveaway in it.
Right.
And it's just something I've never wanted to do. I do want to work with some aspects of the community as far as potentially giving back. And so instead of doing like giveaways or putting my fully fledged tutorials, deep dives behind paywalls, I've just always given that information out for free. And to me, that is way more beneficial than giving someone a PC or a graphics card or anything like that.
Right.
And so it's just a little bit different school of thought, business plan, what have you.
Plus, we've seen what could happen to people that do giveaways wrong, and you know, and they're just like, "That's the reroll."
That's the reroll.
You know?
I mean,
and they just
what have they done for me lately?
Overnight. Like... I mean, would craft computing get in over their heads like that? I mean, no, I don't. But I don't think Artesian Builds thought they would either. So.
He's just driving his BMW i8 into work thinking today's going to be a normal day.
I'm going to wear my Star-Lord jacket and just take care of business. I may not be a guardian of
Little
the
did
galaxy.
he know that Kia Pia would be on the receiving end. Or rather, he'd be on the receiving end of a Kia Pia smackdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Play by the rules, folks. Either way, I hope you hit 500K. Well, thanks, bro.
Thank you. Yeah.
I hope we do too. We were just talking. We're almost to 300K, which like a year ago, I don't know. That seemed a long ways away. So
well, good God, it's been over 2 years. Actually, right around this month, I will have been self-employed with craft computing longer than I was employed doing craft computing on the side. Nice. So there's a milestone for you. I've been doing this 5.5 years, and I've been doing craft computing as a full-time gig for the last 2.5 years. So 2.5 versus 3. But yeah, I really consider it in earnest about 5 years. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, 5.5 years ago now, that was like the first Talking Heads stream. A little less than 5.5, 5.25.
Yeah.
And
we still can't run an efficient and well-polished show.
No. You know, it's weird to think. Yeah, that was back during like near the eclipse. That was like the summer of the eclipse.
Was that? Good Lord. Yeah, that was.
2017. I can't remember if we did July or if it was August, but I think we did July was the first live stream.
No, August would have been, because July was my first video posting.
So then the eclipse was like a couple weeks later after the first show.
Yeah, would have been. Great stuff. Great stuff. Rett gets an extra Rainier at 500,000.
An extra? Oh, thank you, guys.
I give and I give.
Oh, wow. I really appreciate it. You guys are looking out.
I mean, the 2 ounces of beer that I gave you the other day, that's got to account for like 4 Rainiers, right?
Yeah, if you want to do the math, that's probably like a 6-pack of Tall Boys.
Probably pretty close. So Rhett and I were filming a video the other day, and I opened up an Anchorage Deal with the Devil, if anyone recognizes that beer. Number one, just price-wise, the 2 ounces that I gave him, it's good for a half a case at least. Because that 12-ounce bottle was $98. Secondly, It is a 17% double oaked barley wine.
Yeah. It was good stuff.
It was very good stuff.
It was not what I was expecting at all, but
yeah,
it was great.
You know who else is great? Today's sponsor that I completely forgot to do last week, so we're going to do it now while I'm thinking about it. And we're 30 minutes in, so it's a good time to start news. Today's video is brought to you by Linode. Hosting your own servers also means you get to host all of your own problems. And even the most skilled network engineers will tell you you should decentralize your network. Oh gosh, I lost my place. If it runs on Linux, it'll run on Linode. That includes software for most of the tutorials you've seen on my channel, like how to run your own ad blocking, recursive DNS servers, VPN gateways, cloud-based Plex servers, and more. They offer shared CPU plans for as little as $5 per month and can scale as high as you need to go. Whether it's virtualized hosting, dedicated enterprise GPUs, NVMe block storage, and more. Even if you do host your own servers, you can use Linode to keep a backup off-site, because remember, RAID is not a backup. Linode is also expanding at light speed, with 12 new global data centers planned before the end of 2023. Visit linode.com/craftcomputing and get a $100 60-day credit just for signing up for a new account. That's linode.com/craftcomputing, and again, a huge thanks to Linode for sponsoring today's episode. Thank you, Linode.
Thanks, Linode. With Linode,
awesome. Don't do it.
You can go. Go with Linode. Huh? That's a positive.
I'd rather not workshop my sponsor pieces live.
Why, bro? It works in real life, you know?
I mean, don't give away all my secrets, but...
It always starts with a pun.
It really does. It either starts with a pun or a stupid idea. Hey, so we have an NVMe drive to do an ad for. What do we do? What if we did it like an over-the-top action movie trailer? In a world where... And boom, you have an ad.
I believe the exact starting words were, how do you make an NVMe drive exciting?
I think, yeah. Yeah, I think that was it.
Well, I've seen plenty of movies that I thought were going to be exciting, but absolutely weren't. So yeah. Kind of like an NVMe drive, right?
There's definitely that. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the news. And kind of off the beat tech news, this one caught my eye for a number of reasons. Primarily, I'm a glasses wearer, and the last 2.5 years have sucked for that. If you wear glasses and you've been wearing your mask over the last 2 years, you know that you pretty much can't wear your glasses if you're wearing a mask. At least that defeats the purpose of wearing them if you do wear the mask. But there's been some research going on that kind of builds on an already known concept, but they've kind of taken it up a notch. Now, what am I talking about? There's been some research into anti-fogging your glasses, and they discovered that adding a nano-thin, so an atom or two layer of a gold coating could prevent your glasses from fogging up. Now, why is that? It's not because it has some hydrophobic property or anything like that, although there are coatings for glasses that are hydrophobic, and that's been pretty much the conventional way to defog things in the past, is not let the condensation stick, or if it does stick to the glasses, it beads up immediately and isn't such a nuisance. But that's really only... It's not great for preventing fog. However, the gold layer prevents fog in a very interesting way. It absorbs infrared light energy and will actually heat up the glasses simply by being outside or even being worn on your face. It can heat the glass lenses by up to 46 degrees Fahrenheit from ambient temperature, just from being worn on your face or being out in direct sunlight, where infrared is something that you receive. It's a pretty interesting concept because if the temperature of the glass reaches the point that's higher than the dew point, the moisture physically cannot stick to it. So why not use that to prevent fog from happening in the first place?
Does it have to be gold? I feel like that principle could apply to a lot of different things.
Could apply to like graphene. It could, or a lot of different components, but I guess gold is one of the best conductors of heat when it is in that thin of a substrate. And basically what they're talking about is a 10 nanometer thick coating in total that sandwiches gold between layers of titanium oxide. So now titanium oxide is already used for coatings on things. And again, it's a bit of a hydrophilic or hydrophobic effect. But yeah, it's very interesting if you're a glasses wearer. But the technology may also be able to be scaled up, including being included in things like car windshields and car windows, so they won't fog, or they'll thaw so much faster in the mornings just by the heat coming up from the glass because it'll absorb that heat more readily. So lots of interesting little tangential aspects of this story, and I just found it was interesting.
No, that's great. Especially like you said for cars, man, I need that.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? Has Nvidia tricked us into thinking $1,600 is a good deal for a GPU? I've talked about this a couple of times, and I'm glad to see some other people are starting to kind of take notice of that. The RTX 4090, it's obviously a very expensive graphics card. $1,600 retail price, and that's before you get add-in board partner cards or any kind of retail markups or, dealer markups for unavailability and, market price adjustments and things like that. $1,600 is a lot of money. I don't care what product it is. That's not an impulse purchase for most people. Especially considering $1,600 can buy you a pretty trick gaming PC on its own. So what's the justification that Nvidia has for a $1,600 asking price on their flagship card?
It's an interesting point, but I don't think that it's one that's just isolated to graphics cards. Like, this is kind of a thing that we're seeing across the board in a lot of places right now.
Yes.
A lot of markets. And they go, well, you're getting a deal. And it's like, God, I thought this was like price, or this was item shortage prices. They're like, yeah, but it's also better now. So you're just paying this. It's like, man, the price of everything's going up, and graphics cards is one, but like, look at the discussion around increasing sort of the flat price of video games right now. And in a lot of ways, we get a good deal for being able to buy games for $60. They're looking at upping it to 70. But well, I don't know. They're trying to convince us that.
Well, I would argue that video games have been flatlined in price since, and have actually gone way down in price since the 1990s and the console wars and everything like that. Like, I remember buying like Final Fantasy II for $60. Yeah. $60 US in 1994.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, I bought WWF No Mercy for the Nintendo 64 for like $75 or $80.
Yeah. No, $80 was not unheard of for a game cartridge.
100%. And that's why I'm saying, like, it's kind of a fine line to walk on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of the same thing. They're like, well, our costs have gone up and this has gone up. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's sort of similar. I wonder if how they can say, well, there's inflation, and so now you have to spend $7 for a gallon of milk, and it's like, hello, that's not reasonable. And they're like, well, this is the normal price now. You've been paying it for 2 years. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, it's not just Nvidia, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. No. So if we look back, I've actually made this argument a number of times, and Nvidia knows exactly what they are doing. They are manipulating and obfuscating the actual price of their own products. And they're kind of starting to take Apple's approach with things, if I'm being honest, as far as their pricing tiers go. Is back in the GTX 500 days, in the Fermi days, add-in board partners had a lot of freedom in what they wanted to do with the GPU dies they were given. And so NVIDIA would say, here's an F106, here's an F104, and here's an F102. These are our 3 tiers of GPUs that we're selling. We've got a couple different binned versions, but here's what we're selling. Here's the cards that you have to label these as if you're using a particular binned chip. So a GF104 would be an RTX. Good Lord, I can't adjust back anymore. Would be a GTX 470 or 570, for example. And so those were really the only limitations. And they said, we have to approve reference designs. And so if you have a board that you want to do, we need to make sure that it's going to work. And as long as it works, we're good. You could add more memory to things as an add-in board partner. You could do different power delivery solutions. You could put 2 chips on the same board. You could overclock the bejesus out of it. You could do a lot of different things. So we get things like the Asus Mars Fermi cards and you know, kind of a graphics card heyday. But even back then, the graphics card, like the top-end graphics card on GTX 580, I want to say sold for right around $400, like their top of the line card. And for most of the late 2000s, early aughts, that was the top end tier of graphics cards, was right around $400 to $500. With the GTX 1080 all the way in 2017 being a $500 card for a flagship card. Now, NVIDIA's always had some Halo products. They've always had something like the GTX 690, which was dual 680s on a single board. That was a $1,000 card. They've had their TI series of graphics cards. They've had the 780 Ti and then the Titans even beyond that. And those have been almost always nearly $1,000 graphics cards or 800 or so. But they were always positioned as a Halo product with the markup to go with it. So yeah, you can buy the Audi R8, or can I interest you in a Lamborghini Huracan? Now, they might be the same platform and they might be the same engine, but the Huracan's tuned better. And that's always been kind of what it is, where one is $120,000 and the other is $250,000. Yeah, you're going to pay double the price for 10% more performance. It's the way of the world. But in the last couple of generations of graphics cards, you've got Turing, Ampere, and now Lovelace. They've done an interesting thing, and they've been staggering their tiers up. Where the 80 series used to be their flagship card. Best of the best. It's not $500 anymore. It's now $800. And actually, as of the 4080, it's $1,200 for an 80 series card. They've been inflating the value of their own tiers of products. So what do you get for $500 right now? I don't think NVIDIA makes a $500 graphics card right now, if I'm being honest. I know they do, but
I mean, and this is the big problem. Like, they might have seen what people were willing to pay to scalpers, and now that they're implementing a back tax in a way of like, how far can we push the consumer?
Yeah.
And that's what every industry is doing right now. Well, they've been paying it. How far can we push the consumer? What is the limit that they're willing to pay? And we'll stop right before there.
Yep. Right. They're also doing this interesting thing with the tiering of their current generation products. And they've been doing this for the last couple of years. They're trying to make so you've got your Halo product. You've got your RTX 3090, right? $1,500 graphics card. You put that out there, and you put your second tier card, your RTX 3080, in a position where it looks like you'd be stupid not to just upgrade. You price the 3080 at $1,100, and you give it less than half of the memory. You give it 10 gigs of RAM instead of 24. You have the memory bandwidth. You do a couple of other things to it where you're like, if I'm already up to 1,100, I might as well spend 15. And that's a real train of thought that a lot of people get on, especially when you get the upgrade bug for your system. You're like, well, if I'm going to spend $250 for a new motherboard, I might as well just get the top-end CPU to go with it, because while I'm here. Nvidia is intentionally positioning their cards to upsell you and make you think the higher tier is a better value than it actually is. Look at the reviews for the RTX 4080. It's nothing but, it's a great card. It's overpriced, and it's nowhere near the value return or the frame per dollar that you get out of the 4090. That is very much intentional from Nvidia. And it's kind of marketing 101. And I go back to Apple, because Apple's been doing this since Steve Jobs came back to Apple, when they consolidated their product lines and they said, we're going to do a couple of things right, and then we're going to build our business from there. What did they do with the original iMacs that were, $1,000 desktop PCs? They sold them with very basic specs, with an Apple G3 processor, 233 megahertz for $1,000, and what, 64 megs of RAM or something like that. And then they offered upgrade tiers, and you could upgrade all the way to like a 450 megahertz G3. So twice as fast as the entry-level iMac, and 256 megabytes of RAM, and an 40 gigabyte hard drive instead of an 8 gigabyte hard drive. And it's kind of the same thing of like, well, while I'm here, I might as well just get the best of this machine, because it's not like I can upgrade it myself later on. And before you know it, you're spending $1,600 on what was advertised to be a $1,000 PC, but you're the one who checked the boxes to upgrade. They've been doing this with Macs, like I said, for 25 years now. It's a very slippery slope when you get onto the MacBook Pro thing and you go like, well, the base model's only $1,100, but God, it only has 8 gigs of RAM in 2022? Are you kidding me? You know I'm going to get 16. If I'm going to spend the extra $150 to get 16 gigs of RAM, I might as well double my storage while I'm at it. And the 10 gig network port on the Mac Mini looks pretty enticing, like 100 extra bucks. Who knows? I might need 10 gig one day. All of a sudden, you're spending $1,400 for a Mac Mini or $1,700 on a MacBook when you walked in going, you know what? I want a Mac and I'm going to spend $1,000.
Yeah.
This is the game that Nvidia is playing. They're inflating their own prices by making the upgrades look like a better value than the base price. And
you see how well it works, though, when how many consumers, we're out there putting a video, it says this is a $1,000 gaming PC build, and we're pricing everything out, very diligently staying under $1,000. What sacrifices do we have to make to get performance for that cost? And somebody will be like, well, I don't understand why I didn't just pay the extra $120 and get this graphics card. It's like, did you miss the exercise, my friend? I know that it's just $120, which to people like you and I might not be that much. But I've been in the position where $120 extra dollars is not a sacrifice that I can make just to get a little bit more performance. Right. If I have $1,000, I have $1,000.
reviewers going, you'd be stupid to buy an RTX 4080 if you're considering spending that much money. Just go buy the 4090. It's a $400 markup.
And it's not reasonable for a lot of people.
Right.
And you're allowed to be into PCs without, if you're poor or you're living paycheck to paycheck or whatever it might be, you're allowed to be into PCs. And you shouldn't have to pay a tax just because.
Right.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
And they convince a lot of people that it's like, well, if he's not doing it, then he's an idiot. He's leaving performance on the table for a marginal markup.
Every build has a sacrifice. Every build has a bottleneck. It's just not the bottleneck you expect. If I build a PC with a 1660 Super and an i5, of course it's not going to run as fast as my 3090 with a 13900K because they're slower parts. That's a bottleneck. Like, there's always something you can upgrade. There's always something you can do better. There's always a different thing that you're concerned with in your build, whether it's acoustics, whether it's heat, whether it's whatever else. Maybe I don't want a system that draws 800 watts from the wall, and I just want to play games, and I'm okay with running at medium settings at 4K or 1440p or 1080p. Guess what? Those are sacrifices that I've chosen in my build to be able to afford the build and be comfortable while playing. I don't need an 800 watt heater in this room, well, you enjoy it.
No, he does. He does.
Oh,
no, it's nice. It feels good to be warm,
Yeah. Feels good to take my jacket off in the garage. Brisk. So, yeah, we as a people have been tricked into buying more expensive things. It's kind of...
I mean, I always wonder where the line is. I remember back in the 2008 recession, the big thing that you would hear people say all the time about gas prices was, well, once it's $5 a gallon, I'm done.
You're just going to stop driving to work?
That's what they said. And we were lucky that it never really got to that point.
Oh, it did recently.
But that's my point is then it did. And people didn't stop. They didn't change because they realized that they really didn't have a say. If they wanted to participate, they had to play ball. Right. If you want to participate in computing, I'm sorry, where are you going to buy your graphics cards?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No one's buying AMD graphics cards. The numbers on Steam survey show that. So
the graphics card company is Nvidia, and it has been for 20 years. It's not saying that AMD doesn't make product. And now Intel is here, and maybe they're going to introduce the competition that the industry so severely needs.
But here's the deal. We've been talking about Nvidia upselling their own products for the last 15 years.
But it's not just them.
But my point is they have always been the top player, or even at their lowest, they've been competitive for the top of the the gaming crown.
Sure.
Back in the 7950X days of AMD and ATI. But yeah, Nvidia has been the de facto champion for 15 years, although it's not been without competition. The problem is, because of their marketing and because of the way they position their own products against their own product stack, and this is only accelerated in the last 5 years, is everyone looks over at AMD and goes, well, it loses these three benchmarks. So, swing and a miss again, AMD. Even though the 7900 XTX for $1,000, dude, that is a heck of a value for a graphics card. I have a 6900 XT. Dude, that is an amazing graphics card. And if gaming is my primary focus, that would be what I run in my system. There's also the issue of creative professionals of being bound to certain NVIDIA tasks like NVENC and CUDA and things like that run in professional applications that AMD just isn't in the same ballpark as.
Right.
And so if it weren't for gaming and if it weren't for productivity, and I mean specifically my workflow with Adobe Premiere and After Effects and things like that, I'd probably be rocking the 6900 XT in my main workstation. In fact, when I built my workstation originally, I bought a 6900 XT to go in it because of the value proposition it offered.
Right.
I was trying to put my money where my mouth was, and unfortunately, AMD couldn't cash that check when it came to professional applications.
But see, and then I even wonder though, you're talking about the professional applications for gaming and things like this, but I wonder how many people hop onto their favorite PC related internet forum and they say, I want to build me a PC. Can you guys help me get a parts list? And they go, well, you got to get the latest Nvidia. That's the only option. Don't even look at AMD. It's like they're just looking at the peak price. They're like, well, if you're going to buy a gaming PC, this is what you got to do. Buy the most expensive things. I feel like a lot of people get into that trap. I mean, it's all you hear about in some circles on the internet when you're looking at PC builds. Well, why wouldn't you buy that? It's like, you forgot the budget. Well, why wouldn't you buy that? You forgot that I'm trying to limit power draw. Well, why wouldn't you buy that? Well, size is an issue, you know.
Okay. I want to hear my game out of speakers, not the fans blaring off the side of my PC case. Like there's other things that define quality in a PC besides the frame rate that you see in the counter. In the corner of your screen. And I've said this a couple of times, especially on this show, I respect the hell out of the work that a lot of review outlets go through to produce the top to bottom comprehensive list of graphics cards and CPUs and memory configurations and everything else, top to bottom of this is the tiering of performance if everything was on an equal playing field. The problem with the review style that way, though, is we don't live on on an equal playing field when it comes to PCs, because budget is always an issue. Budget is always a consideration, and there's other considerations besides raw frame rate when building a PC. Like I said, if you want the fastest thing ever, that's your comprehensive list to build the fastest thing ever. It's not the de facto list of I can afford 3/4 of the chart, so I'm just going to buy those components across the board, because your results will likely be different running different hardware. Hardware Unboxed. Hey, look, Hammer Unbox. Ran into this recently where they discovered certain GPUs scored higher with lower tier CPUs. It was AMD cards scored higher with lower tier CPUs because of NVIDIA's driver overhead, which is something that they would never have discovered unless they had benchmarked those slower CPUs when they were reviewing the graphics cards. It was just happenstance that they discovered it. But I'll do a video where I build a PC and it's like, yeah, I'm going to use a 12400F and this random AMD, 6700 XT or something like that. And everyone goes, that's a stupid combination and blah, blah, blah. No one would ever buy that. And it's like, yeah, they would, because they're on the shelf and they're competitively priced. Maybe I got a good deal on something. There's always other considerations than raw performance. And
yep. People gotta consider all angles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People gotta consider all angles. So is Nvidia, gouging their own customers, tricking us, convincing us that this is the way, that their price is the only price? We know it's not. The question is, how far are we willing to be able to be pushed? And I don't think that we've reached the end point.
Yeah.
Because people are going to spend it. I'm not sure why.
In this article, actually, they go over, and this article is talking specifically between the RTX 4090 and the 4080. And price points of those two cards. And again, it's the tiering of and price selection of the $1,200 RTX 480 versus the $1,600 RTX 4090, and it makes it seem like the RTX 4090 is the better value. Okay? And according to shipment numbers from a number of different retail sites, let me just throw this graph up here. NVIDIA's 4080 shipments globally, or at least regionally, on this. 30,000 units sold within this region. Okay? NVIDIA 4090, 130,000 units sold within this region. total shipment of 160,000 units, and a 4-to-1 discrepancy in favor of the 4090. 4090's pretty much sold out everywhere, and retailers have massive stock of the RTX 4080. It's not because the 4090 is that much better or that much more desirable. It's simply because the simple math in your head goes, well, if I'm already spending $1,200, I might as well just go all the way.
And somebody pointed it out before. They used the same tactic in fast food. They go, well, I may as well just get the large at that point. You know, why get the medium?
Do you know why does every burger joint sell fries and soda? It's because those are some of the cheapest things you can possibly sell at a reasonable price point. It is some of the highest profit margin in the industry when it comes to food.
Oh,
how high is
fries.
it? How high is it? Fries are just potatoes and fry oil. That's it. How high is soda? When you buy a soda from Burger King or McDonald's or wherever else, the cup lid and straw combination costs more than the soda in the cup.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Okay.
Yeah, it costs like 3 or 5 cents to fill it.
To fill
pop.
it, where it costs like 7 cents for the cup and the straw and the lid and everything else that goes with it. So why do they always charge a supersize? Why not just give you a bag of fries and a Coke? It's because if you supersize, you're spending now $1 or $1.50 or $2 more, which is 100% pure profit versus them giving you a smaller bag of fries and a smaller drink. It's 100% pure profit.
Yep.
Minus like 3 cents. So that's why they have size tierings. That's why they have certain items available for super cheap, or at least did until recently. And
I mean, yeah. That's something
if
you
I'm
don't
already
think about.
spending $12, I might as well supersize and get the large fry.
Yeah. God, and
Same concept.
The cost of fast food is the perfect example of this phenomenon. It's just going up and up and up.
Yeah.
And the service is going down and down and down. Now, I'm your quintessential millennial, guys. I ain't here to complain about service. Okay. I'm with all of the workers that are inside these drive-thrus, behind these kitchens. 100%. They deserve better conditions and better pay. But like, remember 10, 15, 20 years ago when these places held themselves to these weird metrics and they'd say, well, we're going to deliver this food in 30 seconds and it's always going to be this quality and blah, 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 blah. It's like they never had to make those promises for us to keep going there. And now they kind of know it, but they won't back down from those promises. And so you're just like, they're always like, can you park in the front for 5 minutes while we cook your food and do all this? It's like,
here's my anecdote on that situation. And then as soon as I give this, we're going to move on because I have a package that apparently I need to open right now. So I worked at Burger King in 2002. Okay. I worked there for 2.5 months.
9/11 was fresh in all of our hearts and minds.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that downhill. So I worked there in 2002, summer of 2002. And there, speaking of like corporate strategies and mandates and service expectations and things like that, there was a giant timer on the wall right behind the drive-through window. So you had your front counter, and then you had your drive-through window, and then just to the right and above that was this giant red 7-segment clock. Okay? For everyone to see from anywhere behind the counter. And what it was how long someone has been sitting at the drive-through window. And as soon as a car pulled up, 1, 2, 3, and it would just start counting up. 7 times a day, we would hear, reset! What that meant was something is taking too long, whether the customer is digging in their car for change, or the fries are 60 seconds from being done, or the chicken nuggets haven't quite timed yet, or whatever else. And it was someone's responsibility, whoever was the closest person, to reach up on the side of the clock and hit the reset button. What that did was prevented sending the final time to corporate. Okay. We were also told, do not yell reset and do not touch that clock if a corporate individual is in the restaurant at the time. Because we don't want to pad our numbers.
Amazing.
So, you get what you measure is one of my favorite phrases, because for all of these corporate America things, I was at Walmart here's another anecdote. I was at Walmart the other day, Saturday, 11:30 in the morning, one of your busiest shopping days of the month, let alone the year. You know, we're in December, 2.5 weeks before Christmas. Saturday, major store. Okay. 3 cashiers for the whole damn store. Walmart measures their cashiers' performance on what is called IPH, or items per hour. You are expected as a cashier to scan a certain number of items per hour. Now, this goes twofold into staffing issues and expectations and what do you measure versus what do you have to deliver. A couple of things. Let's say you have 5 cashiers versus 3. Well, obviously, your items per hour for each cashier is going to go down because you've diluted the work across more workers. You're going to dilute your work by 20 or 40% if you add more cashiers. If you were running a certain IPH on Black Friday, you expect that number to go down for a random Tuesday, right? Except Walmart had no such expectations that any day should be any different from any other day. And so they expected cashiers to scan in the order of like 250 items per hour. What happens if your cashiers are only scanning 170 items per hour? Well, obviously your cashiers are being inefficient, so why don't we only have 3 of them on staff right now instead of 5? That goes twofold to staffing issues and payment and compensation and everything else, because Walmart just saved $40 to $50 an hour if there's 2 cashiers with benefits that are no longer working that shift. And they pass the cost right along to you. So now you get to wait in line for 25 minutes on a Saturday instead of them just paying another $30 to have 2 extra cashiers there, but it would result in a lower efficiency tally on the store as a whole.
I mean, that's another great example. Is like, I remember being
you get what you measure.
A young lad, you go to the grocery store and every checkout stand was filled.
Yeah.
And that's just never happened in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, demand more from your employers, folks.
Yeah.
Let's see what's in the box.
I have a box from a Mr. Yakto. Yakto's has the distinguished honor of being one of only 2 to ever achieve the honor of expensive idea shills on the Discord server. Now, do I get to guess what this is first?
No. Yeah, of course you can guess.
It's not a terribly heavy pack. It's 5 pounds, and it's a large box. Like,
okay. I think it's a liver.
You think it's a liver? I think I already know what it is, but I don't want to ruin any... Oh, no, it's not what it is. Okay.
It looks like a motherboard.
It looks like a motherboard. And there's a little package in here, too.
Ooh.
Okay. Oh, no. It's not a motherboard. What is...
It's a cute sign. It says Craft Computing on it.
It's wood.
It's a wood carved sign. It says Craft Computing. I knew it. Called it. You all heard it here before he said it's wood. If I'm right, Jeff owes me a Rainier.
I know just where to get them. There's a couple warm ones sitting here for you.
Those are mine. I brought those. You owe me a fresh one.
Lord, that's a lot of bubble wrap.
Well, he had to make sure the wood was safe. It's fragile. It's a plaque.
Oh, good God. Just a second. I'm gonna open the little envelope before I show you what's on this. Okay.
Some sort of plaque.
Oh, nice. Nice. It is a plaque. So there's plaque blanks in this.
So you can laser carve your own.
It is a plaque. This will probably go in my shop, if I'm being honest.
Ventoy Brandon. Yes. Yes. Oh
Awarded
my
to Craft
God.
Computing, Year of Our Lord 2022.
The shade is so strong.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I'm sure all of you know, but if you don't, we did a video about an iOS device. And because Jeff didn't mention Ventoy, every one of the comments did. Well, why would I pay money for this when I could just use Ventoy?
Oh my gosh.
And it was kind of akin to the fact it's like if you go on Twitter and you have 280 characters, like, I love dogs so much. Dogs are so cool.
What do you got against cats?
Exactly. Exactly.
It's like, calm down. I didn't kick a dog in front of you.
Ventoy brand ambassador. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. That may actually go up on the wall right here.
I think it needs to go right above the editing station.
I think so.
So we know what we've done.
It needs to sit next to the YouTube plaque.
You know what this means, Jeff? We got to fill that up for real. We gotta figure out more videos that we can do where we can get everybody shilling for Ventoy in the comments.
But only one per year. I'm not willing to shill more than that.
Oh, come on. You could do 2.
Oh, with that, I think it's time for an IPA.
Do a video on Ventoy, but get everything wrong.
Yeah.
Why
they didn't just use DD and a bare image, I don't know, but I'm gonna do a video on every single alternative. Every damn one.
And never, ever mention Ventoy.
I mean, I'm not far away from that. In 2021, I did 2 videos on Windows deployment services that were 40 minutes long each. And that is how you deploy Windows without a USB key. Oh, man.
That was amazing.
Good Lord. Anyway, Block 15's Animal Cookie IPA.
What a great gift.
Rufus Boy here. I'm more of a Balana Etcher fan, although Rufus is pretty good. Gosh, I've done W32 Disk Imager. I've done even a little oh gosh, what was the name of that program? The one with the little sheep. Clone CD. Clone CD. Oh, that was funny. I used that video to deploy 40 instances on the university that I worked on. That video was years and years of long-term experience in the making. I have literally deployed thousands of machines, probably in the tens of thousands, machines that we imaged using Windows deployment over the years. And in fact, one of my certifications is for deploying Windows Vista. Yeah. That's where all that video came from, was a
Super
Windows
useful.
Vista deployment certification.
Super useful.
At the time.
I don't actually think I ever saw a real life instance of Vista. Like I knew about it, but it was so short lived. It's like I went from, and also to this is on me for sure, but I went from Windows XP to Windows 8.
Yeah.
One day my desktop with XP died and I had to use a laptop that had 8.1 on it. Actually, it had Windows 8 on it, but it wasn't a touchscreen laptop. And I was like, this is awful. What do I do? And everybody was like, well, 8.1's out now and it's free. So just, update that. I was like, okay, great. Here we go.
It really was the solution.
Yeah. And that laptop still has that same instance of Windows 8.1 on it.
I really like referring to Windows 8 as Windows 7.8B.
All the nerds are right there with you, Jeff.
Yeah. For those who think Vista was painful, Windows 8 was painful.
I never had any.
Vista, you just needed new hardware, so I'm sorry that you were trying to install it on your mom's Pentium 3 at some point. But that's kind of on you. Windows 8 sucked on every machine, let alone servers.
Yeah, I didn't
with Windows
have any,
Server 2012.
I didn't have any issues with it, but I can't. Actually, I said that laptop still had 8.1, but actually, eventually, I did upgrade to Windows 10 using the Windows accessibility features, like because they're like it's not free anymore. You have to buy it. I was like, dang it. I wasn't sure about Windows 10 at first, and now I regret this. And they're like, but you can still tell them you use accessibility features and get it for free. So I did that. So it did eventually get Windows 10, but
yeah. Let's see. Jeff, with how cheap the 5950X is, I'm thinking of upgrading my machine learning server from a 3950X to a 5950X. I wonder, is it worth it? The bottleneck is usually the GPUs. If your bottleneck is the GPUs, you're probably not going to get any better efficiency, especially in machine learning, from the Zen 3 versus Zen 2. The 3950X is a great CPU. The jump to Zen 3 was one of the largest single architectural jumps that we've seen in, let alone recent memory, but we're starting to push like all time as far as like 15 to 18% IPC improvement over a single generation. Like absolutely insane performance. But for machine learning, you're primarily hitting your GPUs anyway. Unless you have very specific tasks, AVX style things that are required of your CPU, in which case it could be a pretty good investment to pick up a 5950X for, $500 and get that extra 15 to 20% of performance. But I doubt it. If machine learning is your ultimate goal, outside of a couple niche scenarios, I would just leave it. 2700X to 5900X is probably the sweetest upgrade I've ever done with a mainboard swap. Oh, you're freaking right there. Man, that's a from Zen Plus to a 12-core 5950X. Yeah, no, what AMD managed to do in just a couple of years is astounding. I mean, just flat out amazing. You fool, we all know Windows 8.1 is v6.3.6900. Yeah. Workloads include data conversions. Well, then your bottleneck wouldn't necessarily be only your GPUs. And so again, you're going to know your data a lot better than me. Saying machine learning is what's better for flying, a paraglider or a Harrier jet? They both work. But what are your exact use cases? Do you have no fuel and a high cliff? Well, then glider might be the way to go. All right. Moving on. In a subject that will probably be very near and dear to Jeff Geerling, supply chain woes may finally be coming to an end, or at least easing when it comes to everyone's favorite hobby board. That is the Raspberry Pi. The official Raspberry Pi blog, and in fact, Eben Upton himself, founder of Raspberry Pi, posted the following article that we all know for the last couple of years, semiconductor supply chain has been, well, hell. I like when CEOs put it very plainly. It's been hell. But Raspberry Pi has been making a good amount of headway in basically shoring up their supplies, in getting things to where they need to be. Because remember, PCB manufacturing is a global supply chain. You have manufacturers in Taiwan and China that are actually making individual components, whether it's resistors, capacitors, diodes, etc., whether it's the PCB substrate, whether it's the raw materials, the copper, the silicon, the fiberglass that go into producing PCBs, whether it's the silicon that goes into producing the actual chips themselves from Broadcom, whether it's any number of other things that are involved in this. Nearly every single product you buy today is a global product and relies on some form of a global supply chain. And we've kind of ran into an issue of the global supply chain sucks and has been hell the last couple years.
What?
Yeah, I'm not going back over this again. God.
One little boat gets stuck in a canal somewhere and the global supply chain is so fragile. Couple of railroad workers want some sick days. Oh, they can't have them because otherwise the world will be disrupted.
Hire more people. You get what you measure. Not enough workers to staff your factories and your railways unless they all work overtime. Guess what? You need to hire more workers.
It makes sense to people with a brain, Jeff.
Makes sense to people who want to spend as little money as possible and get the most return. Like, I get it. But there's also a simple solution to fixing the global supply chain and labor shortage.
I hate to say this, but good business is always cheaper. Like, good business practices is always cheaper in the long run. But whatever. What do I know? Basically have a death grip on the world's shipping industry. So
Elon Musk walked into Dave Chappelle's show in San Francisco the other day and got booed off stage because he just looked like a colossal raging whatever expletive you want to put in here. It's so hard to find workers these days. Elon Musk, for the price he paid for Twitter, could have paid every single man, woman, and child in that stadium $2.4 million. For the $44 billion he spent on Twitter, he could have paid every single man, woman, child, and probably organism in that stadium $2.44 million.
No, but instead he goes up there and ruins my show, Jeff.
Instead he goes, "I'm rich, bitch." And I just can't afford $80,000 a year for basic labor. Just saying.
Look, I was just trying to enjoy Dave Chappelle. I didn't mean to make it into a big deal.
Yeah. Just saying. Anyway, global supply chain. Raspberry Pi has been making a lot of headway in shoring up a lot of their suppliers and supply chains. And third quarter was very good for them. And I guess in the fourth quarter, they are expecting over a 50% improvement on individual unit sales. So they are starting to become available. Now, a downside to this is the Raspberry Pi Zero is going to go through a cost increase, mainly due actually to PCB manufacturing and shipping. It's not some of the component costs. It's like the bare substrate cost has just gone up to the point where they can't produce the boards for that price anymore. So the Zero is going to go up from $5 to $10, and the Zero with Wi-Fi is going to go up from $10 to $15. But they say that the Zero products should return to volume availability in 2023 and no longer expect to see the single unit limitations that has been a feature of the Zero since its launch in 2015. So being able to buy the Zero not just for a single one-off hobby project like The Simpsons TV that plays a random episode every single time, which I totally want to add to my tortoise's cage. But potentially in bulk availability for like large-scale hobby projects or deployments or a lot of other things. That's extremely exciting. That's what the Zero was originally intended to be, was you want to produce a product, here is a CPU that you can slap into just about any product that you want to manufacture with full GPIO that has enough processing horsepower and memory and onboard storage to handle just about anything that you would need in small electronics projects or maker devices or anything else. $5. Well, now it's going to be $10. But now you also get a Broadcom quad core and a full gig of RAM and Wi-Fi and like, it's a much better deal than it was even back in 2015. So, if you've been looking for a Raspberry Pi, hopefully there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light is not a train. Unless it's a train full of Raspberry Pis, in which case I'm fully on board.
Hell yeah. Somebody made a joke in the chat about the Elon Musk, Dave Chappelle thing, that he got booed so hard the next day they rewrote reality and he was knocked down in richness. Which I just loved. Like, it's like a total like Disco Elysium moment if anybody's ever played that game. Like how the laws of like how capital can sort of like distort reality for a moment. And that's totally what it was. Right. Everybody booed and his money just like withered away.
I wonder why Tesla stock is tanking. Could it have anything to do with their lack of
leadership? Yeah,
lack of
confidence
in leadership. There we go.
Yeah, I love that they're like guys, Tesla's okay. He's not doing anything too crazy. He's still rooted in reality. Okay, we saw those people boo him. That's going to be good for us. And the next day he goes, well, actually, there in person, it was like 90% applause and only 10%
boos. Oh, but there were a large amount of boos, which sounded like a lot more because apparently there was a large fight in the audience, and I just couldn't get any words out.
I loved on Twitter there was
so much going on that I just couldn't fit my ego in the same room with it.
On Twitter they were saying, "Wow, an honest to God boo earns moment."
Or someone needs to make a Twitter bot that automatically scrapes Elon Musk tweets and puts a picture of Mr. Burns.
Well, I think even Bo Burnham does a joke about it, and they're like booing, and he goes, "Boo, an elongation of my name, also a sign of approval."
Yeah. Your boos mean nothing. I've seen what makes you cheer. By the way, this is the person that still willingly goes to a Dave Chappelle show in 2022 that booed Elon off the stage.
Oh. Well, and I love the joke about that. He's just like, well, all the boos were from the leftists, rabble rousers. And I'm like, it's 2022. What leftists were at a Dave Chappelle show? Like, Dave Chappelle has had a long and storied career, and many of it was an up. It was funny. Mm-hmm. But to leftists, he's fallen a little bit out of favor, right?
Yeah, there's some things that you just can't say, and jokes that are not funny, and things that shouldn't be discussed. And
wherever you fall anywhere on the Dave Chappelle debate, he's fallen out of favor with leftists.
Right.
And he's like, Elon's all like, well, it was the leftists booing me. I just can't get over that.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Big spoon, $5. He says, Elon Musk is awesome. The only people who are booing were the people who are fired from Twitter in the nosebleeds.
God, I was just trying to get away from this jackass.
Yeah, they're like, I bought tickets before I was let go. I just thought that this would really cheer me up, damn it.
Yeah. All right. One of our title stories is it's finally happened. You can finally buy a 2 terabyte SSD for $100. Now, someone asked very early in the chat, it better be Gen 4. No. No, in fact, TeamGroup has unveiled their Vulkan Z drive, which is a TLC, triple level cell, solid state drive. It is SATA based, because that's the only way you could possibly make this affordable. But a SATA SSD, 2 terabytes of storage, $101 retail cost.
Wow.
That is absolutely insane. It wasn't just 2 years ago that 1 terabyte finally hit the $100 price point. I've been starting to see 1 terabyte drives for under $80 as of recently. And this is the kind of thing, barring, multi-hundred gigabyte installs for games. I'm looking at you like Call of Duty and Red Dead Redemption and crap, even Fallout's in triple digits. Unless game storage radically explodes, you might consider going 100% SSD for your next PC. Now, obviously, this SSD doesn't have DRAM cache. It's not going to be as fast as your high-performance SSDs. It's not going to have quite the random and sequential read-write as one with a DRAM cache in it. But it's probably still faster than your hard drive, especially when it comes to random tasks, because it doesn't have to wait for that drive to come around and read the correct bit and then make sure it's the correct bit and then finally send it upstream. It just knows where it's at in the table of contents, so it can pull it right up. Now, there still is some latency in finding the data. There's still some latency in getting you the data. There are some hard drives, some mechanical hard drives, which may beat this in write speed for sequential writes. But that's kind of a niche area that isn't used a lot outside of like game installations. Even loading game data is random IO. It's usually 4K seek. And so if you've been on the fence about like, oh man, I want to build a new PC, but I don't know if I want to, spend $180 for a 2 terabyte SSD. I'd rather just spend, $60 for a 2 terabyte hard drive. This might be the thing that finally flips that the other direction. It's only $40 more if we're going to use the Nvidia argument. It's only $40 more.
Okay, bro. God, $40. That's a lot of money to some people.
Yep. Wait, well, you all are not already 100% SSD? I know my audience. Are you kidding? They all should be. You don't all have NAS arrays?
I've got one desktop.
Where's that?
That's completely solid state. And then I've got one desktop that is not.
You don't all have SSD arrays? Like, what?
Jeff, those are under NDA.
No,
what are you doing?
No, they're not.
Shut up.
That's for a project next week.
I was making a joke. God.
You're terrible at this. Oh, by the way, the camera hasn't been on the whole time. We're not actually on the air.
You fool. Got him. Finally got him, guys. I did it.
The thing is, he tries that every time. Oh, no, the camera wasn't recording. Oh, and I'm like, there's a giant-ass red tally light that I look for because I recorded myself for 4 years straight.
One day I'm going to get you.
Nope.
Yeah, I'll get you.
Nope.
Might not be that exact joke. It'll be another one. Like, oh no. Something else happened. The swamp gas got in the way of the camera footage.
Flared off reflections of a weather balloon from Venus. And
I'm going to catch you at the perfect moment.
Yep.
Well, why didn't you check for swamp gas off the weather balloons in Venus?
Mm-hmm. It's on the checklist, Rett. And now, just for you, it's going to be.
Dang it.
Is Jupiter in retrograde? Sorry, we can't film today.
Jupiter makes the video stupider. Nailed it.
All right. And finally,
Nailed it.
we do have a little bit of Intel news. There's been some speculation as far as will Intel be continuing the LGA 1700 chip? We've kind of known they wouldn't pass Raptor Lake, but there's always been this sliver of hope, right? Of like, please don't make us change sockets every 2 generations. I can't be the only one who's getting tired of this. You know, we had 1156, then 1155, then 1150, then 1151, then 1200, and then 1700, and now 1851. So nice. 1851 is allegedly confirmed. How's that for media spin? According to leaked Intel documentation, LGA 1851 is confirmed to be the new Meteor Lake S desktop CPU, which will actually support LPDDR5X 7500 memory. That's exciting. The memory part is exciting, not exciting that there might be new CPU mounting specifications.
I don't know. I'm excited for it all.
It's supposed to use the same standards as LGA 1700 as far as CPU coolers go. And so at least your cooler won't have to be upgraded, or at least for like reviewers and whatnot, you can use the same Intel coolers that you've already been using. But come on. Dang it.
Yeah. Yeah. Got to take the good with the bad.
1851, a good year, a good whiskey, actually.
Wasn't that when Oregon became a state?
1859.
Dang it. It was one of the 1850 odd numbers. Yeah. Well, I guess I'm just not a true Oregon patriot, you know? What can you do about it? There's nothing to be done. Nothing to be done.
I did know it was Valentine's Day. Did you know our state anniversary was February 14th?
I did know that, yeah.
Okay, we achieved statehood on February 14th, 1859.
Yeah, like the cider company.
Yep. It's a good way to remember it. I wonder if they knew that.
They did. That's why they picked it. You idiot. Not everybody. Stupid. Not everybody's an idiot like me, Jeff.
I'm trying to bring it down for the audience. Like,
oh, gotcha. Okay.
Wonder if that, like, I'm wondering out loud. I wonder if that's why they chose it.
I wonder if they're smarter than you, Rett. I wonder if they put some thought and care into their decisions, unlike you and everything that you do and touch.
Anyway, we got about 15 to 20 minutes left. We don't have any other news to get to. We could dive into like 7900 XT and XTX news. Long story short, it's between 30 and 60% faster than the 6900 XT, or more accurately, the 6950 XT. Definitely falls short of the 4090. Goes toe for toe with the 4080 in almost every single circumstance, and costs $200 less. So take those results as you will. But anyway, new Craft Extra, smarter than Rett. That's too easy to shoot.
Yeah, no script necessary.
That's just turn the camera on Tuesday in the office. Like that's.
Yeah, not too hard, guys. It's not too hard.
So I have the Ultimate Supervisor desk set up here, where my streaming desk actually faces my editing workstation. Now, the editing workstation is sitting perpendicular to me, so he's at a 90-degree angle facing the monitor that's mounted on this wall over here. And I will be, no lie, facing my computer, and he'll be going, how do I do this? And I go, what are you trying to do? And he goes, I'm looking for the... And I go, not there. Because not only do I know what he's already trying to do, I know he's in the wrong place. And I didn't even have to look up.
It's not hard.
No.
Plus, he doesn't have to look up, but I was going to say, plus it's a giant screen, though. So, of course, it's very obvious.
It is a 43-inch 4K display.
And it basically flashes red every time I do something stupid. So,
right. Yeah, I've got a script that runs.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, it's got the webcam on top, and it's tracking your eyes, and if they gloss over for more than 3 seconds... That's advanced
I had a feeling about that. That explains so many other things, too.
Oh. Cheers, guys. I need to finish patching. Great show. It's not Patch Tuesday. What are you patching on a Wednesday for? Go home. Have a whiskey. But good luck, Chuck. Spoon wants to know if we can just talk about how awesome Big Spoon is. I mean, he drinks okay whiskey.
Is that awesome, though?
Do you think drivers are supposed to have a big uplift? In what are you referring to, Lucid?
Uplift. He's talking about animals when we begin to uplift other species, giving them human-like intelligence. Do drivers need to have an uplift? Like an uplifted animal butler driver. Like a good chimpanzee, a la sort of Planet of the Apes.
State Farm is there?
Yeah. Yeah, we can insure you. Do you have an uplift driving? No? Okay, then it's going to be double.
Okay.
Personally, I'm going to have an uplifted octopus driving for me. It just feels a little bit more on par. 8 appendages, less to go wrong. But, you know.
All right. 7900 XT and XTX, Linus mentioned that. Drivers being a big uplift. I'm still not sure in reference to what. Like driver improvements in the months to come? Who the hell knows? RDNA 3 is iterative on RDNA 2. It's not a brand new architecture from the ground up. And so a lot of the driver support for RDNA 2 should already be there for RDNA 3. It should just be a faster architecture. So, yeah, I guess I'm not understanding the context that you're asking that question in. Anyway, let's see. What are we doing around the studio this week? I've got a project that I can't share yet. Let's see. $5, Big Spoon. Ask Alexa what's the most popular whiskey is. Say it so it activates Alexa, Google, and Siri for everyone. Well, I can ask that out loud because there's no AI or listening device in my house. It's how I roll. And so, hey Alexa, what's the most popular whiskey?
But everybody watching knows the Star Trek theme we got going on, so they changed Alexa's name.
Right. Computer.
What's the most popular whiskey?
There you go. You just pissed off like 17 people.
They're like, oh, what an idiot. He doesn't know I changed the name.
Yeah.
Got him.
I know a number of people personally who have changed it to computer.
Yeah, I did. I do have a device in my house. And mostly we use it just for listening music hands-free in the kitchen. But
Right.
Which is such an awful use to have such an intrusive device, but whatever. It's like, you know what I need? And now it's not even that good. It's like Pandora. It's like you get 5 skips an hour. It doesn't even like, I could be like, hey, play this album. And it'll be like playing this song and songs like it. And I'm like,
no, album.
Yeah. And it used to be so much more. It used to have so much more music like that. But now they want you to pay for Amazon Music and things like this. It's just awful. So
I am on a grandfathered Pandora account, the $2.99 unlimited, where I have as many skips as I want. If I want to listen to an album, I just select that artist. I can't choose individual songs, but I can choose albums. So it's not quite like Spotify level. It's a little bit more forced diversity.
Radio-like.
A little bit more radio-like. But for $3 a month, I've just kind of kept it on because we use it all the time still. I used to commute over an hour one direction to go to work. Over the years, we pared that down, and I think my final commute before I moved into this house was like 42 minutes or something like that. So spent a significant, not insignificant amount of time in the car, and had Pandora for like a decade.
Heck yeah. Yeah, a buddy of mine, when I was a senior in high school, he went off to college and he came back for Christmas and he said, well, my two best friends are Pandora and Hulu. And I thought, what kind of college is he going to where people are named Pandora and Hulu? And I thought that this guy had legitimate friends named Pandora and Hulu for the longest time. It wasn't it took me like an extra 6 months to realize that Pandora was a music service.
Pandora? Who would name their child Pandora?
And I thought, like, I
just
guess,
the implications of that name.
Right. And I thought, well, maybe it's one of these new age families. I mean, or maybe, it's college.
Don't open that toy box. Right.
I grew up in a small conservative town and he's going off to big old college town. I mean, maybe this was a chosen name of some sort, and they're just like, I am no longer Sarah. I am Pandora. I don't know what happens at college. I've never gone,
Apparently, a couple people's Alexas responded with Jim Beam is the most popular whiskey.
I've got a bottle of Jim Beam upstairs.
I've got a bottle of Jim Beam myself. So,
and then some people are all upset. They're like, well, technically a bourbon isn't a whiskey, blah, or whatever. I don't know what they're saying, but
I don't associate with those people.
To me,
a whiskey comes in many forms and many different spellings, and they are all accepted here.
To me,
except
a bourbon,
Black Velvet.
To me, a bourbon is just a whiskey made in Kentucky, So there you go. Kentucky, they have their own ways of making whiskey, and they call it bourbon.
Bourbon is a 51% or higher corn mash.
I know what it is.
Okay, just making sure, and I'm defining for those outside as well. Also, it has to be aged for at least 3 years and distilled and barreled in its primary location. You cannot
move it.
You cannot move it. You have to distill it and barrel it at the same location. Now, after it's been barreled and aged, you can then move it and bottle it somewhere else, which is how MGP gets around a lot of those things. But a lot of MGP whiskeys, so random whiskey houses that show up and whatnot, people will buy a bunch of whiskeys from MGP and they will blend them together to get a flavor profile they are after. And then they'll sell it as whatever whiskey they want. But it will always say something like distilled in Illinois because that's where MGP is at. So, let's see. So Lucid was saying maybe he's misunderstanding. Maybe they're misunderstanding. But he said he expects drivers to add more performance when it comes to some titles. That may be. And early reviews are always... Day one reviews are always a little finicky. Number one, reviewers don't get drivers until sometimes like 3 days before release because they're... graphics card manufacturers are so scared that benchmarks are going to get out early. Which I get, like, protecting your intellectual property and making sure your launch is good and everything like that. But it's not like the YouTube algorithm versus your product launch of a graphics card. You're hoping for good day one sales, but what you're really hoping for is that you have a good product and it continues to sell. So I wish more people would understand that, and I wish the review cycle, the review circuit, reviewers would get better looks at products before they launched, and that game developers and driver makers would have more opportunity to start integrating features earlier rather than we can test these 5 games, but we ran into anomalies with another 7 because the drivers have not been updated to work with this API properly, or there needs to be optimizations made, or it works a little bit differently than it did on the last generation card, or hey, we encountered this bug that made this game unplayable. That happens every single graphics card launch. And the really frustrating thing is very few review outlets will go back in time and review cards a year later or 6 months later. It's the release reviews, and then your reviews are done, and then you're just doing builds and things like that. That chart that I've referred to, like that some hardware outlets will use or review outlets will use to compile the top to bottom definitive spec of this is the best and this is the worst, and then in order everything in between, that chart is a lot more fluid than they would like to let on, because of driver updates and API changes and a whole bunch of other things that happen in the lifetime of a graphics card. Probably my most famous example of vindication and whatnot was on my GTX 1650 review. I reviewed the card and I called it the new budget king, as long as it was $159. The card that was sent to me for review was $179, and I said that $20 at this price point makes a huge difference, and $179 for this card is just not worth it when there's other cards just above it that are so much better. But at $159, it makes a lot of sense for some budget builds. And I said, for the ultimate budget card, it's probably the new king. And I got raked over the coals. Hardware Unboxed was saying, why does that card even exist? And Gamers Nexus said that Nvidia's just taking advantage of stupid consumers. Fast forward 18 months, and the 1650 at $149 was probably the budget card to get because the RX 570 didn't exist anymore. That's why that card existed. Those charts are fluid. And by the way, I respect the hell out of Steve and Tim at those respective places. I'm friends with Steve and Tim over at Hardware Unboxed, but we don't always agree, and that's 100% okay, because we have different criteria on which we're judging, which is why we always recommend, all 3 of us back and forth, watch everyone's review on something, because everyone's going to give a different perspective. Everyone has different things they're looking at, taking us all the way back to the beginning of this episode, where there are other considerations other than 100% raw performance, and sometimes you need someone to give you the review you're looking for.
Yeah. A really bad analogy of that is like me driving the Nissan Leaf that I'm driving. Like, a lot of people are like, what are you doing? But the reality is that it's doing exactly what I need a car to be doing right now.
Why didn't you just buy a Model 3?
Right. They're like, if you were going to go EV, why didn't you go Tesla? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you buy new? I bought a first generation Nissan Leaf. Number 1, because the price was right. Number 2, it goes and does what I need it to do.
But don't you have range anxiety?
No, I did. Not anymore, because I've driven it and I know how far it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I know how far it goes on a hot day. I know how far it goes on a cold day. Well, what do you mean? You get different ranges depending on the weather? Yeah.
You do in gas as well, moron.
Yeah, but they don't think about it like that.
Yeah.
They don't think about it like that. I mean,
E15
think about it like this.
does not increase your gas mileage.
Think about it like this. I spent like 2 years using my motorcycle to commute. That doesn't get much more range than my Leaf does, but nobody is moaning about that.
Well, that's because you have the freedom of a motorcycle.
Yeah, oh, it's so free, all right. Yeah, so free. And almost the same limitations in a weird way. Like, yeah, I could stop at a gas station and fill up, but like still cold on a cold day. You know what I mean? Like,
can't turn the heater on. I'm gonna.
And that's where I'm at with the Leaf. People are like, why would you subject yourself to that again? The price was right, and it does what I need.
Right.
My first car didn't have a heater either. Okay. And it didn't have AC.
Yep.
This is a step. Honestly, this is nicer than my first car. The only difference is it doesn't go as far.
Give it time, Rhett. Give it time.
But yeah, people got to consider lots of different angles when they're looking at things. When you're looking at price, when you're looking at, what market is this trying to fill?
Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody. So
different people have different needs and expectations and desires out of their vehicles, out of their life partners, out of their living arrangements, out of their furniture. PCs, their furniture, their TV shows, their music. Everyone is different. And you can have different expectations for what is acceptable. It's totally okay.
Yeah. I like to look at it like a point buy system. When you're playing Dungeons and Dragons or a board game or something like that. It's like, where can you make this sacrifice? Like when I was making a wrestler on WWF No Mercy for the N64, you might put your points into strength, or you might put it into somewhere else, and you might take a couple more roughneck moves before you take those. I can't even remember the wrestling styles in that game. It's sad. I should hook it up and play some, but point being, you could make sacrifices in one area if it meant you got more points in another.
Right. I wasn't going to buy an AMD graphics card, but I got the 6900 XT for like $700. I guess I'm an AMD gamer now. No.
No mercy, my guy. Heck yeah, Rev. You know what? I'm going to get on my N64 tonight. We're doing this.
There you go.
You can see my awful taste in just general style by all of the custom wrestlers I created.
And you can see what an $80 game got you back in 1999.
Hundreds of hours of entertainment. I saved quarters to buy that game. I went to Toys R Us and I bought it with quarters. So there you go. As much as I'd like to keep the show going, we are sort of edging up on the Secret Santa time.
Yes. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah. Last Christmas, I bought you a beer. And something you drank it.
Yeah.
And so this Christmas, I bought you some more.
I bought you more beer. Yeah. Give it to someone special.
Give it to someone special indeed.
Yep.
Someone like our fellows over on the Craft Computing Discord. $1 a month gets you exclusive access. What was that? Can you get me through the speakers for a second?
I don't know. For some reason, it connected me to voice chat in my Discord. I didn't click on anything.
Oh,
but all of a sudden,
already waiting for you.
Oh yeah, they're already waiting for us.
Oh, here they are. Yeah, and $1 a month gets you access to the Discord server where you could talk with me, with Jeff, with John and Steve, all of the hosts from Talking Heads and more, our awesome community. And also Funky Monk, one of our mods, will pester you this time next year and say, do you want to join our super secret awesome Santa exchange?
Yes.
Where you could buy your fellows some awesome local
where we
craft
ship
beers.
each other totally legitimate packages of hot sauce and craft soda.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're allowed to ship.
We keep it all above board and ship only the most delightful craft hot sauce.
Yes. Yes. Lots and lots of hot sauce. Great. Now Tom Lawrence is going to want to be on and be like, oh, you guys do a hot sauce exchange?
Maybe I'll get that going for next year. I haven't yet done the beer Secret Santa exchange, but maybe we ought to do some hot sauce because that's kind of my shtick. I mean, obviously I love beer too, but the problem is when the Secret Santa thing started, I was broke.
Yeah, my favorite shipping description that I've used a couple of times is yeast samples in suspension.
I love it.
All right, that's going to do it for episode 263 of Talking Heads, every Wednesday night here on Craft Computing, or in podcast form at Anchor.fm or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. Make sure to like this video if you liked it, subscribe to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already, and as we were just saying, join the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. You'll get exclusive access to the Discord server where you can keep this conversation going all week long with the hosts of Talking Heads and the awesome community that hangs out over there. Rhett, anything good of the order before we close?
Oh, nothing from me except you could go and check out my Dungeons and Dragons at dndpodcast.org or follow me at Rett is Awesome on Twitter or rettisawesome.com. That's a place. Go check it out if you'd like to. Otherwise, I'll be here every other week talking heads, keeping it real.
Sweet. Thank you all for joining us. And as always, we'll see you next week.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, guys.